Was this the best team VGK has ever had here in Las Vegas? As Kelly McCrimmon asserts, our discussion comes your way next, right here on Locked On Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Tony Cardasco, Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen each and every day. Find us wherever you get your podcast, and please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel. We are brought to you today by Gametime. Download the Gametime app today, create an account, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL, and you'll get $20 off of your first purchase. So I just paused, Chris, when Kelly McCrimmon made the bold statement on locker room closeout day or cleanout day. Does he really believe that this was the best team overall that VGK has ever fielded? Or was this the team that the general manager, this is what it reminded me of. The GM has to go in for his review. And so he goes in, and this is how he lays out his case. And, hey, I created the best team we've ever had here in Las Vegas, as he presents to George McPhee and to Bill Foley.
I mean, I get what you're saying there. I think McCrimmon, at least for a while, is probably the safest of the made men. I mean, him and McPhee both. I mean, so that leaves Cassidy, and that's another discussion for another time that we'll both get grilled on. I don't think McCrimmon is campaigning when he makes a statement like that. I think he truthfully believes that on paper, a healthy version of this team that apparently would have needed a half a season to come together and get chemistry. They didn't need that long, but would have been the best team ever. And I don't think they're wrong on that. I mean, you look at the difference on paper from the Stanley Cup winning edition of the Vegas Golden Knights. And then you add, and again, let's just pretend these are healthy players ready to contribute at a standard pace. You add Hertl, you add Hanifin, and Mantha was supposed to be a little better, obviously, but he wasn't. And you actually had the best version of Mark Stone we've seen in the last two seasons. You had the best version of Mark Stone. Unfortunately, he had that very awkward injury, and that was that. And this reminds me really fast of the difference from the 17-18 to 18-19 Vegas Golden Knights. So 17-18 team goes to the Stanley Cup final on the back of Derek England and Oscar Lindbergh and Nick Holden and John Merrill, and then you look at players that join the 18-19 team like Max Pacioretty, like Mark Stone. You look at just the difference in the two rosters and how much better the second version was. But again, there's many circumstances like injuries, like interesting calls in Game 7 of a playoff game. So it just because on paper they're the best team doesn't mean the result's going to be the best results.
Why the excuses, though, would have repeated as Cup champions if injuries didn't.
I forgot the air quotes. I was too tired to put my hands up. You're following. You're following my flow.
Okay, if injuries didn't affect the team's chemistry. One would argue the 2023 team was better. Why? Because they got to the finish line and they won the Stanley Cup. That should be the best VGK team ever. The 28 team made their mark, making it to the Cup final in just the first season. So when does this Golden Knights team, bounced in the opening round, start to make some moves again? Was this even the best team on paper? You think that it was?
If the 23-24 team was the best team on paper?
Yeah.
I think a healthy version of this.
Hang on. So you get damaged goods in Tomas Hertl.
Yeah.
You like that, right? Damaged goods.
Very damaged.
You get Praying Mantha, and Noel Hanifin, the additions.
Which Hanifin was a gem. Let's make sure we acknowledge that.
We don't extend contracts during the season. Every player but a fading Riley Smith returned to this lineup. Think about that. Riley Smith, as we saw, was starting to fade. He was. Known fact. And they get everyone back. And so this team wasn't as good as the season ago with just the addition of Hanifin, basically. Because Hertl, we don't know. We don't know if he's...
Sorry.
No, we don't know if he's going to be
Okay,
good.
so things change, situations change, and we had a segment yesterday dedicated to players with regression. Shea
Was
Theodore,
that
Zach White.
yesterday?
That was yesterday.
Okay.
Feels like it was like a year ago, right?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Shea Theodore, Zach White, Cloud, Chandler Stevenson,
Riley Smith.
um, Riley Smith. Those were just some of the players that we highlighted that had some year-over-year regression. I mean,
Carry.
there's so many things that need to go right when it comes to I mean, this is a George McPhee quote. There's only 4 teams in the entire NHL on a yearly basis that win 2 playoff rounds. Let that sink in for a second. So the margin of being a successful team that makes it to the conference final versus being a first or second round out in the playoffs, it's very strange to see how quickly you escalate up the hill to being a successful team and how hard it is to get to that point. But yes, circumstances do need to be acknowledged when it comes to conversations like this. And every GM can play Madden football where they're making these weird trades and stuff, although McCrimmon does live versions of that apparently. And you're getting players at full value, not injured and stuff like that. But like you said, the trade for Hurdle, it was damaged goods. Now, who would have skated in Hurdle's place, and would the Golden Knights have been better? Maybe that's one for the parking lot for another segment for next week when we're really digging. Hannafin, we talked about Hannafin. I mean, Hannafin's a gem. Hannafin's going to be a gem for a long time. Maybe the last year or two of his contract, there'll be a little bit of a concern there, but so what? I mean, that's the price you pay for getting a franchise level, defenseman. So I get what McCrimmon said, and if this was a healthy roster with no injuries, with players who did not have a short off season, then yeah, it's the best VGK roster on paper. But that doesn't. What does that mean? It means nothing. It means nothing in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't make me feel better that the Golden Knights were a first round out. It doesn't make me feel better that Cassidy was out coached. It doesn't make me feel better that Aiden Hill is still a flash in the pan who got a $10 million bag, but all VGK Nation is in love with that, and they think he's not a flash in the pan. So there's a lot of concern next season, Tony. A lot of concern.
So even the unmade or pre-made man, pre-made Bruce Cassidy, he's starting to he's slowly easing his way into made man status because he was playing some
he's towing the line. No, if we're doing mafia stuff, he's doing odd jobs right now trying to prove himself still. I'm sorry. Cassidy is not a made man. I will very confidently state that.
Late in the season, he started to get his stripes there. He started to earn them. So
come
Cassidy
January, if they're struggling, there's going to be a conversation about Cassidy.
He'll be an unmade man, you're saying. Okay.
Potentially an unmade man. Big potential.
Okay, so Cassidy said Game 7, a victory there would have been a springboard. How they had won. No telling. What if they do have the nucleus of this team back next season? So this should by far, they're going to add one big piece. I think so. I think they're going to add one big piece, and then this could be the greatest team ever. Because you know why? We're just getting ourselves set up for next season so that we go in and get a good review once again.
I get it. And I mean, so here's the question. I mean, Kelly McCrimmon set the bar as the 23-24 Vegas Golden Knights are the best team ever. There will be changes. There will be most of the nucleus, whatever. Most of the nucleus will be intact. We don't know what's going to happen with Jonathan Marchessault. Continuation, we don't know what's going to happen if Marchessault is extended, what the fallout is. And there has to be fallout if Marchessault gets an extension. He's not taking $5.9 million, nor are the Golden Knights maxing out $5.9 million on one player. There's other needs that the Golden Knights do have. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, how can Kelly McCrimmon make the 24-25 edition of the Vegas Golden Knights the best team ever? That's where the bar is set. Because the best team on paper did not win the Stanley Cup. So now what does McCrimmon do coming up in this offseason? And there's a million questions, starting internal, and then going external. We've highlighted some some potential bargain finds. Dakota Joshua, me and Tony both love that as a great start. I went even deeper with like an Oscar Olafson or Kevin LeBlanc type, and then just kind of depends on what kind of money is left over. But that said, let's just Marchessault gets an extension. Shea Theodore is traded. There's about $4 million to work with. The Golden Knights now have Marchessault, no Shea Theodore, but they also have Dakota Joshua and Oscar Olafson on top of all the other players. Does that sound like a roster that's going to be better than the 23-24 or as good? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, it was on paper, maybe name-wise, right? Star appeal-wise, a better team. But as far as performance,
it was better than the 22-23 team just on paper. Nothing else.
This is the only team that I've heard that's gotten bounced from the Cup's playoffs, from the Cup playoffs. I saw your Cup there. From the Coffee Cup playoffs. The only team that gets bounced in the first round that comes up with excuse upon excuse. I've heard no one else make excuses. That was the better team. End of story. Did anyone else make any excuses?
Did any of the other 30 GMs?
No, any other teams that were in the playoffs when they lost?
I don't know, Tony. We don't follow them nearly as close as the Golden Knights. We don't know what
I
they're
didn't
saying.
see any excuses.
Listen, it's not excuses, it's circumstances, Tony. Come on, get with the program here, number one. Number two, the entire season we did highlight many narratives. It was, well, okay, there's not enough practice. We have too many games.
Bad ice, too much bad ice.
Yeah, the scheduling, I guess we'll just keep it simple.
Was bad.
Was a narrative.
They had the softest schedule in the history of mankind. They played the Kings right before Christmas, and that was it. Within their own division, it was so rigged.
Rigged. There you go. I fired a rig to Rabbers this morning. He was stuck on E-Runs was stuck on a runway in Chicago. They had to change a tire, and they were on the plane getting their change.
He had to change a tire on the plane.
They had to change a tire, and they like NASCAR pit crew came out. Well, no, they didn't do it themselves, but they were on the plane while it was happening. But yeah, I'm about to make sure E-Runs catches this segment. But
are we ready to go to segment 2? Okay, no, go ahead.
One more second. Dave Goucher, don't worry, we're gonna cut Dave Goucher nice and short today. The one excuse that drove me nuts was the chemistry. That I thought that was the worst one that this team
was so bad. No one else, come on, man. No one else had narratives like this organization. None.
No, we're good. Now we can move forward.
Okay. Coming up next, with the near certain departure of free agent William Carrier, or Carrier, as we call him professionally, who are the candidates to replace him on the fourth line? We get into that next right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. Gametime has several deals for you on tickets right up until the start of the event, and even an hour after it begins. It's the place to find last-minute seats, as Chris and I can attest. Find exclusive flash deals and sponsor deals on tickets for everything from the National Hockey League to a lot of the shows on the Vegas Strip. With zone deals, you pick the section, and Gametime will pick out the seats for you. It's an average of 18% savings, and the Gametime guarantee, you know what that means. It means that you will always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section and row for less, Gametime is going to credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets today with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account. Pretty simple. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do indeed apply. Create an account. Use the redeem code LOCKEDONNHL, $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Back on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights, Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from, it seems like you're in the North Pole, or it would be the South Pole if you are Bruce Cassidy. You cold over there?
I've been fighting some. I've been fighting some, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it. Little bug going through the house.
Little bug going on. Okay. Speaking of little bugs, tomorrow we have WTF with the Friday. We like to bug
little
people.
Bugs,
they like
plugs.
to bug us. They bug us.
Okay.
Okay. And then, of course, on Saturday, it's the Chris and Chris Jr. show, which is the YouTube exclusive. You don't want to miss that. Please subscribe to our Locked On Golden Knights YouTube channel because I don't like some of these other teams, especially ones to the north of us in Dallas, that have a lot more subscribers than us. That's what Cassidy would say. We had to go up there. Dallas is down there. Okay, from here. Who would slot into the line that I call the Flying Burrito Brothers? If William Carrier, okay, Carrier, right? You had that discussion with him, right? You talked to him that one time and you asked him about how Cassidy pronounces his name.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was
Okay.
at
Well,
the VGK gala at Resorts World. No, it wasn't Resorts World.
yeah, I think
It
it
was
was.
at
It was.
it was Resorts World. Okay, it was
Oh yeah.
Resorts World once. Either way, um, no, I approached and just simply asked him about how he handles. Does he ever correct Cassidy because he always calls him Carrier instead of Carrier, and basically Carrier. His response was he can call me whatever he wants as long as he plays me.
That was pretty good. But he's not going to be playing on that fourth line. It doesn't appear as though he will be returning to this VGK roster.
He'll probably get a 5-year extension.
Yes, of course. Paul Cotter, the logical choice. Is he ready to step up? We saw that fourth line, Ivan Barbashev with Carrier and Watt there playing together. Your guy, Keegan Colasar, will he be back on the fourth line? Scratched in, what was it? Was it game 5? He was scratched from the lineup in the playoffs, even. That fourth line could take on a different shape this upcoming season. So, who do you think slots in for William Carrier as he apparently will be departing from the Vegas Golden Knights? But a lot of fans, Chris, got to get a little dig in here. A lot of fans would pay big money just to see Carrier. They can't wait for his return. They will pay all sorts of prices because they want to see Carrier.
Nice WNBA jab right there. I like that. I caught that. All right. So, first of all, I would like to see the fourth line dismantled, number one. I want to see Nick Wass somehow, some way make it into the top 9. And the only logical way that happens if he can become a successful winger. But for this exercise right now, we're going to assume Nick Wass and Colasar.
Wait. The return of the Brett Howden line for
I think
four?
Howden should definitely be the fourth line center, 100%.
The Brett Howden line.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, no, Howden needs his own line back. Triumphant return. But let's just assume for a moment, and this is even if Nicholas Waugh moves, we still have to figure out the void. And like you said, the logical choice, whether it's stepping up or stepping down, is Paul Cotter. Paul Cotter's path to being an 82-game fixture, health pending, of course, an 82-game fixture in the VGK lineup that does get to actually play in the playoffs as well. I still to this day don't think he's played a playoff game with the Golden Knights. I could be wrong on that. But Cotter needs to own that fourth line role. You can't tell me that Will Carrier is a better scorer than Paul Cotter is, but I think the two have actually had very similar. So Will Carrier 6 goals, 39 games last year. Paul Cotter 7 goals, 76 games last year. So here's the concern right now. Paul Cotter is getting better opportunities with more skill in the second, third, even top line, only found a way to get 7 goals. So that right there is why Paul Cotter needs to own that energy role on the fourth line. I think Paul Cotter can have a very long and successful NHL career that could last over 15 years if he's the type of player that just does what a healthy Will Carrier would do. Wins every race, wins every board battle, get some goals every now and then, get some timely goals every now and then. But there's this hybrid version of Paul Cotter that exists that can get these dazzling types of goals and stuff, where he does have the ability to absolutely break the ankles of a defenseman by getting the puck between his legs, these dirty dangles and stuff like that. We always go back to that goal he scored, I think, against Philly early in the season, where he dangled between his legs, great backhand. It was a star player type of goal that he scored right there. So if he can own being an energy player and then taking advantage of maybe some mismatches, I think that's a great spot for Paul Cotter. If Paul Cotter wants to look at himself as more of a skill type of player who should be among the top 9 or top 6, well, his numbers simply aren't that.
He
So
can't
energy
finish.
role, Paul Cotter's number 1.
He cannot finish. I mean, let's face it. He can't finish.
I don't think it's as much about finishing, Tony, as much as it is about setting himself up in the position to finish. There's a
He gets
difference.
too frustrated with himself and takes himself out of the game. He
No,
sabotages himself.
that's a very standard trait of Paul Cotter, 100%. 100%.
Okay. And then Carrier, 2 months out with the upper body injury. One of the 9 golden surgeries, we might add, this past season.
They use golden scalpels too, you think? Because it's the Golden Knights.
Of course. The 9. What was his?
Are the doctors
surgery,
getting their
you know?
cars washed while they're operating on the Golden Knights players? There you go, Tony.
I like that.
I can
You know
keep
what his
going,
injury was? Do you know what his surgery had to be? It was upper body. No?
Oh, I thought you had a joke
There's no
coming.
punchline. There's no.
I usually
just
expect a
curious.
punchline, Tony. I'm not going to lie.
I know.
I
I
honestly
know.
don't know.
I'm a little slow today, but yeah.
I mean, I saw him up in the box. I never saw him like with I can't remember if I saw
No
like
cast.
a cast around his wrist, or I can talk about this now. I can care less, but I might have saw like a cast on his left wrist or something. But I'm not 100% at all. So if I'm wrong on that, go ahead and someone call me out. But I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm guessing right now.
Would there be any chance that they get VGK signs someone else that's a skill player, right? That can slot into that top line. And then we saw the experiment with Ivan Barbashev there on the 4th line.
Oh no.
Any opportunity for him there? No.
Not unless VGK is going to commit to getting the 4th line 16 minutes of ice time a game. I mean, you're not going to see okay, they have a $6 million 3rd line center, but they're not going to also double down with a $5 million right winger, I don't think. But I mean, in a weird circumstance, sure. And I mean, to be fair, that was when Barbashev moved down to the 4th line. I think Barbashev actually had a really strong game. And that was, I think, was that game 5 where that happened?
Game 5, yeah.
That was actually the lone bright spot of the Golden Knights. That game was the 4th line and Ivan Barbashev.
Carrier and Moi. That was game 5.
Okay, yeah, that line that was the lone bright spot in my opinion of that game. So I mean, Barbashev, credit Barbashev for that, right? So now, I mean, Barbashev, another player, needs to take a step forward. We'll see if it's Marchessault on that line or if they have to sign someone else to slot in that top line, or see how that goes. Maybe it'll be Paul Cotter, Tony. Maybe it'll be Paul Cotter.
I don't know, but we are going to see some changes there on line number 4.
You also got Jonas Ronbjerg, someone like that who can also go into that role. He doesn't have the energy level that Paul Cotter does, but he is a much more responsible player. You have a Ronbjerg and a Nicholas Waugh on that 4th line. All of a sudden, you have, and Kolesar is out there. All of a sudden, you have a line that flirts with being a shutdown line with the energy that Kolesar and Nick Waugh provide. And even Ronbjerg can hit too. He doesn't do it as much, but he can.
Okay. Well, you'll still have Kolesar, the originator of the Flying Burrito Brothers, so we can still identify that line as such. Coming up next, VGK will not have to find a new television play-by-play man after all. We'll talk about that when we return right here on this edition of Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. You could find us wherever you get your podcast. Tomorrow, please line up all of your terrific comments, including taking me back to the day and taking me to task about being so grumpy on the air like I used to be, crabby. I think it was crabby. Of course, leave your comments for WTF, What the Friday. And then on Saturday, it's the Chris and Chris Jr. show, the YouTube exclusive, and hopefully little Chris can answer the bell on Saturday morning. Hope he gets feels better.
No, we're recording on, so he'll be, trust me, he's got a hockey game Saturday. He's going to get better, I promise. We had a joke today because me and him, we kind of both got COVID around the same time when that was a thing that everyone was really concerned about, and we took like 3-hour naps every day. So I told him today, I said, dude, if you got maybe we both have COVID or something right now, we can go back to taking our long naps and stuff. He's like, no, school's out. I don't want to do that.
Oh, yeah.
He only wants COVID when school's going. He only wants COVID during school. Smart kid.
Absolutely. The
Smart
guy.
kid.
Okay, so the
I like
Golden
3-hour
Knights,
naps. That sounds nice, actually. I'm gonna go back to
the
sleep.
Golden Knight, that's 3-hour nap. That's my nightly sleep session. 3-hour nap.
The
Golden
third
Knights,
segment's a 4-minute nap.
yeah. Golden Knights TV play-by-play announcer Dave Goucher will not be heading back to Beantown to New England to take that same job with the Boston Bruins. Yesterday, the big news. It was broken on Odyssey's very own, that's within my fam, Mix 94.1 Mercedes in the morning, that he will be returning as the only TV play-by-play man this organization has ever known. He had all the leverage. So they do, in essence, sign their first free agent here in Las Vegas.
I have no idea what his contract situation is, or there's a buyout.
Oh, he got a
whatever.
bump. There's no doubt. He got a bump.
Fair enough. What I will say is, on a positive note, we've certainly taken our turns, taken shots at the organization, rightfully so, in many facets. But I think Goucher is at the point now where, like, he's in Vegas, he's cool, life is good, right? He's a part of this team since day one, and that's irreplaceable, his memories and stuff. But also going back home is something that's irreplaceable as well. So it's not like we're deciding between two bad jobs and which is the better of the worst circumstances. But Boston job is a pretty coveted gig as well. Original 6 Stanley Cup contender, Stanley Cup champ. I mean, we don't need to go over all the accolades of
They
the
didn't want to
Bruins,
pay him enough money.
I mean, if you know something I don't, then fine.
That's the way
I
the
don't.
biz works. Come on, man.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know if it came all the way down to money. Maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But where I'm going with this, it's nice that someone who's been here this long as an employee of the organization
Don't
decided to stay.
don't say loyalty. Don't say loyalty.
I think
Okay.
Goucher showed loyalty. I don't know what happened on the other side, but Goucher's definitely showing loyalty to the organization. Whether it was behind the scenes, hey, Boston wants me, give me a bump or I'm out. I don't know if that happened. You know what? If that is how it went down and Goucher got one over VGK, then even better.
No,
Good. It's about time.
Okay. So you get your name out in the news in the Boston Globe, right? Of course, since the made man only read.
This is really a good Vegas angle. I do like that. This is really a good Vegas angle. I like this.
Since the made men only read out of town newspapers, they don't know what's going on in their own backyard. Down there, they call it down there. McPhee called it down there, Las Vegas. That was his reference. So what they do is, of course, they knew that there was an opportunity for Goucher. He says, "Hey," goes in. Yeah, it's a great leverage play. You have to do that. You can't lose at this point because you have the Boston Bruins gig in the balance from everything that we've heard. And so, yeah, you've got leverage, folks. Leverage, something that I believe Jonathan Marchessault might have. He might have some leverage.
Oh, Marchessault has all the leverage right now.
Yeah,
Marchessault can walk right into McCrimmon's office and be like, bro,
put his feet on the desk.
This done.
Can he put his feet on the desk?
His feet won't. The chair has to be higher. Marchessault's feet won't.
It's got to be a little higher. Yeah, very good point.
So yeah,
Do you think he's still doing BLTs with Foley though?
No. I think
They can't get rid
Marchessault.
of him. He's conjoined with William Karlsson. They're conjoining twins. There's no way.
I think for if the offseason negotiation would have happened, I see Marchessault going in and like in his workout clothes, having a conversation with McCrimmon, trying to work something out in a quick fashion, right? Hey, whatever, a year ago. Now, when I think they go to the bargaining table, I think Marchessault pops in there in a 3-piece suits, with a nice expensive watch and says, what are we doing? I think circumstances have changed there. But now back to the Goucher situation, where I get what you're saying. I do. Either way, the image, the golden image of this is that a day one employee decided to stay within the organization. Whatever happened behind the scenes, it doesn't matter. It looks good on paper. It's the best TV team on paper ever, Tony.
Yeah, and thanks for bolstering the ratings there of Knicks 94.1 with the announcement and all that.
They've been a long time friends of the program.
We had to have an announcement on the air, and then everyone just played into that. And
the second I saw VGK PR put out there that he was going to be on the radio, we knew he was staying.
Exactly, we knew he was staying here, of course.
Right,
we appreciate everyone tuning in. Hey, folks, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day like me? No, I don't. I watch Court TV 90% of the time.
TMZ.
If you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting that you hear, just like you have shouting on this show, mostly from me primarily, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel, which is programmed for you each and every day to bring you the biggest stories without all that screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Tomorrow's WTF. Line up all of those great comments. We definitely do appreciate that, as we do our everydayers. Thanks for hanging in there with us during the summer, non-playoff time, but we know that you're out there because we can see
definitely.
all those
No, it's
numbers.
appreciated.
Yeah, for sure. And
It's
Saturdays.
the fans listening and the views and the interactions is what I wake up for now. Like, it's fun covering the team and talking about what's happening, but knowing that people do take an interest in this is what fuels us. So thank you sincerely for that, everybody.
I wake up at 4 a.m. because I don't sleep. So, and I'm also driven by this show. And of course, Saturdays, Chris and Chris Jr. show. You don't want to miss
Almost
that.
made 30
YouTube
minutes, 1 minute over.
Darn it. We'll see you again tomorrow.
I
Please.
gave you 20 seconds to close it, Tony, and
we'll start previewing the Stanley Cup. Are we going to follow the cup around this summer, wherever it might be? Let's do that. That's always good content. We'll see you tomorrow right here on Locked On Golden Knights with Chris Golick, Tony Cardasco reporting. And please take care.
Please.